Thanks for being here, guys. We haven't had Breakout in a little bit. I think we had it. Please don't. I think it's still pictures of, was it Lindsay? Lindsay and Madeline stole my phone once, and I think it's still, or Lydia. Still pictures from you guys. I know, it's super weird. They did it as well. They took pictures of me. It's really weird when you're looking through pictures on your phone. You're like, why is this picture? It's about the same. If anyone ever gets a chance to flip through Luke's art books, they're fascinating. I'm putting them on blast right now because you're just kind of like, I'm mesmerized by this and disturbed all at the same time. I found my driver's license. The latest one was a photocopy of my driver's license on the top of one of the pages with a drawing of me underneath it. And I'm like, when did you get my license? It was just sitting on your desk and I photocopied it and cut it out. And I'm like, oh my gosh.
I feel like that could be illegal.
It was funny. But, all right, thanks for being here tonight. I really appreciate it.
Glad that was recorded. Luke's on to it.
Oh, boy. It is, it's good to see you guys. And here's what I wanted to do. We're not there yet, as in we're not starting our new ministry year. Our new ministry year starts in August. But we don't have a breakout between now and when our ministry year begins. So I thought I'd take some time tonight and kind of share just some things that we want to do in this next ministry year and some things that we want to focus on. And some of this we are in the process of working on. There's a few people who haven't been here. I should like rewind and restart. When was it? Easter that we kind of tried to combine all of first impressions and worship and production and kind of put it under this umbrella of being just a weekend team to where we all are serving on different teams, as in we have our first impression team. Are we calling it first impressions or wow?
First impression.
Okay, good to know. First impressions. I thought that's what we were calling it. I just want to make sure. We have our first impressions team. What?
We bring the wow.
You bring the wow, yeah. Boom. Which covers our whole parking team, to our greeters, to those who are first-time guests, to setting up our lobbies, to the ushers on the inside, covering all of those people. And then we have our worship team. And when people say worship, let's clarify, we're not a praise team. We're not the singer team. We are a worship team, and our worship team consists of band and vocals. And then we have the production side of that as well. It's been called worship tech. We are renaming it to production because when people think technology, they tend to think computers and programs, and they don't think production as in people that are executing how things are visually seen and audioly heard, right? So we're kind of like bringing all of those teams together. Dustin leads the production side. I lead the worship side along with Joe, Layton, and then Kathy is kind of head of the first impression side. Carrie takes 16 at 9 o'clock and 11, and we brought amphitheater as well and a bunch of other stuff. Sunday services. That's a good way of putting it. And then Misty does Saturday night. Hello, Mike.
Can I crash?
You can crash. There's a seat on the front row, and there's a seat right under the camera. Mike doesn't remember our old leaders lead from the front. Anyway, so we brought them all under the same umbrella, and then as staff people, we put together a map every single year. It stands for Ministry Action Plan, in which we're trying to lead out for the next ministry year. So Kathy, Carrie, Dustin, myself, we've tried to work together and bring some of the same goals together. So it's not this team's trying to do this, and this team's trying to do this, and this team's trying to do this. So when I say I want to share like where we are coming from, some of this is already in the works. Other side, we need to kind of work within some teams, and we'll kind of share about that. Can we get I feel really uncomfortable with you guys standing up there. It just feels weird to me. I'm sorry. I feel like you're going to stand the whole time and then at some point end up sitting on the ground. Thanks, John. We're going to be a chair short. When he opens the door, tell him to grab a chair. There should be one out there. All right. So we're going to share just a little bit about this upcoming ministry year that starts in August and what we want our focus to be. I'll share more on this. We're going to have a team night. We'll touch on some of this stuff. But we'll have a team night if we've done where I kind of vision cast for the upcoming year. So Proverbs 24, if you were in church this past week, Val shared this out of the context, I think Saturday night. She shared it out of the context of relationships. But I think it works for a lot of things. So Proverbs 24, 3 through 4, it says this: a house is built by wisdom and becomes strong through good sense. Through the knowledge, its rooms are filled with all sorts of riches and valuables. There's a translation out there called the Passion Translation, and it puts it this way: wise people are builders. They build families, businesses, communities, and churches. And through intelligence and insight, their enterprise are established and endure. Because of their skilled leadership, the hearts of people are filled with the treasure of wisdom and the pillars of spiritual wealth. So the next ministry year, 2021, 2022, those 12 months, what we're going to be focused on is reframing our room within our house. So think of our house as in the church, Crossroads Church. Just think of it as a house, and think of our ministry team as a room existing within that house. And we want to reframe it. So why do people reframe things? This is a participation question.
Make them stronger.
To make it stronger. Okay. When you think of reframing a house, why do people reframe houses? Change the design. Strengthen it.
It broke.
It broke. So our house is currently broken. Like literally, there's about 3-4 feet of our bedroom that's just totally exposed. And framers have to come in and reframe it because it broke. Why else do people reframe things?
Create more space.
Create more space. So the definition of reframing is this: to frame something again, and often in a different way. So people reframe for a variety of reasons. They reframe their houses for things that we've stated. People reframe their thinking, right? You can change the way that you think, and usually you do it because what you're thinking is unhealthy, unhelpful, and unproductive. So you can reframe your thinking about stuff, right? So we want to reframe. Reframing happens because what is currently here is not the best that it could be, right? So my parents, they live in a house that started being built back in the 1850s. So it dates back pre-Civil War in Missouri. And the basement is one of those like old houses with the cellar in it, where it's like these massive slab rocks like built into the side, and then it has like the whole archway, and then the beams upstairs, they still have them, but they're like these massive beams and then like plaster against it. So that was the original like structure of the house, and as people moved into that house, people added on and people added on and people added on. My parents have never changed the foundational structure though of that house. They have had to build more foundation on. But that initial foundation that was built back in the 1850s, they've never taken that up and laid a new foundation, right? Because when you reframe things, you don't necessarily want to blow up what exists, okay? So we're not talking about building a foundation. As a church, we have a very well-established foundation. And that is, and Mike said it earlier, like we're here to help people become fully trained disciples. So that's our foundation. That doesn't change. So we're not, as a team, We're not trying to rechange the foundation. We're not trying to lay a new foundation. We know why we exist, and we know what we're about, and we know to an extent how we're supposed to execute it. But we do need to reframe some things within our teams. So when we think about this in the weekend team, as a whole, here's what I think. We need to bring clarity, consistency, and a high capacity to our teams. Okay? So there are areas within our team that we need to be crystal clear, and we need to frame our team in that way. There are areas within our team where we need to become incredibly consistent in everything that we do. And then we want to be a high capacity team. And high capacity teams are teams that are headed in the same direction, with the same passion, having the same commitment, bringing our best, and leading from a place of rest. High capacity teams aren't teams that burn out. They're teams that know how to lead from a place of rest first, right? So we want to be this. And like I said, I wanted us just to be crystal clear on this. I do not want us to, as a team, ever approach rebuilding our foundation of why we exist. And I do not want us, as a team, to get muddy on what that foundation is. Rather, I want us to know what the foundation is, which is why we do talks like this. It's why we do our team nights. It's why we do our huddles. Here's why we exist. Here's what we're about. We're about helping people go from untrained to fully trained people. And here's why we see this, or how we see this in the Bible, and what we're going to. But we do, as a team, within our room, we need to reframe some things for the sake of clarity, consistency, and becoming a team of greater capacity. So, 3 ways that we're going to focus on reframing and building towards the future in 2021, 2022. Number 1, how we onboard new people. So, question. Within first impressions, a non-staff person, how do we currently onboard new people? If you don't know the answer, it's okay.
I got a text that said you're invited to serve, so I said yes and I showed up.
Okay. Within worship, non-staff people, how do we onboard new people? Hunter, Hannah?
They have an audition. It's been a long time
Okay.
since I've done it, so it could have changed. How did you on board?
Audition.
Yeah, like a private audition, and then Engage. We had Engage
Yeah.
for a couple of years, and then when you're ready, you're ready.
And maybe make like a public announcement about it.
No, I don't.
Or like they're like, hey, if you want to, come talk to someone. Like that, not like, oh, we're gonna have an audition of this. Just more of like, hey, if you're interested in joining worship team, talk to this person, whatever, and you can discuss it with that person.
Yeah, we do it. When I was in Next Steps, that's how we told everyone to approach the leaders.
Bob, you know how we onboard new people in the band?
Throw them up there. Use them on fire.
See what happens.
All right. If I asked all of you to write this down, we would have as many people that are in this room as different answers, okay? All right? We need to reframe how we onboard new people. We need to bring clarity, consistency, and have a capacity in onboarding new people. We obviously have a lack of clarity, okay? So clarity starts from the top down. So this is not on you to be clear in this. This is on us as a lead, like people that are leading this, to bring clarity to it. So here's why this matters. Because God is bringing people our way, and if we do not steward the people that God brings our way, we are not caring for the people that He's brought, right? And we are called to care for the people that He brings under us. We are called to be good stewards of things. Not just our finances, not just our body, but the people that He brings onto our teams, into our lives, and into our church. We should steward that, and we should steward it well. And we need to care about how we onboard new people. It needs to be clear, it needs to be consistent, and we need to grow in this. So this coming year, we're going to make it incredibly clear on every single team. Okay? Every person on our team should have a very specific, hey, I just want to invite you to. Right? So it's either, hey, so I was chatting with a gentleman yesterday. His sister has been in our church for a while. Him and his wife just moved here. and he's a drummer. And I just said, some of this, we're honestly, I'm just going to be upfront with you. We're still working out. So if you're free Saturday night, can you come Saturday night? Right? Now, no one really knows that, but since we're not clear on this, I needed a first invite to. So maybe it's I'm going to invite you to team night. Maybe it's hey, I'm going to invite you to this rehearsal space. Maybe it's hey, I'm going to invite you to serve with me. But every team, we need a invite to this. Every team, we need a first serve place, right? So when it comes to our vocals, here's some of the stuff that we're going to get back at doing. Because of COVID happening, we kind of were rolling out our ensemble again last year or a year before, and we had to put it on pause because of COVID. We're going to get that back going. Lydia has shown interest in leading that, but it's a great first serve for people that want to serve vocally. 4th and 5th grade, it's a great first serve for people in Next Gen World that we can plug in and we can help them start serving in 4th and 5th grade, right? Band, it's the exact same way with that. We can help them serve in other environments before we throw them up and just have them play in that way. Production needs a first serve. I know that we have some of that. First impressions, we need it very clear that every single person knows what the first serve is in impressions, like first impressions. And my personal opinion would be having someone usher for the very first time would be one of the most detrimental things that we could do, right? Because it's nerve-wracking. And it just is. And there's just, so every team needs we need it very clear, hey, I'm going to invite you to this. We know what our first serve places are. And we're going to make that incredibly clear this next year. We have someone that you are scheduled with. Every new person that's coming onto our team needs to be assigned to someone else on our team, okay? And it can't be those of us that are currently filling certain roles, because they need attention given to them, right? And they need someone to pour. So that person that they're assigned to, maybe their sole job is just to be with them. So this drummer that I invited in, it'd be great if we had someone just being able to sit with him all of Saturday night and answer any questions that he has. And just build that relationship with him. Because he's been brought into our church, and our job is to help him become a fully trained disciple. So we need that of hey, we have this person scheduled. Every team, we need to teach who we are, why we exist, and how we operate. Every team needs who we are, why we exist, and how we operate. So one of the things that we, I think it was back in January actually, it might have been February that we sat down and Leighton shot it, edited it together, Lindsay was there, and we put together for the worship and production side what I'm calling a culture series. And this is who we are, this is why we exist, and this is how we operate. So, first impressions, don't tune out for a second, but this doesn't necessarily apply directly to you. So what we're going to do is tomorrow, all of you that are in this room, that are in the band and vocals, you're going to get an email that's going to start walking you through the culture series. And then what I'm asking you to do as you walk through this is to give us feedback. Now, here's the feedback. I don't want to know what was wrong with the video unless it is things that we can edit. We cannot reshoot these videos right now. It's impossible to do. So the videos are shot. The content of the video cannot change. What I said, and it is what it is. You're going to have to bear with it. But everything else is in how you receive this process. Put yourself in the position of a first-time person coming into our team, and this is the DNA that they're going to receive. And think through it in that lens. And then as you do this and you walk through it, ask yourself, 1, did I know this? 2, am I doing this? 3, what feedback can I give Jasper that would make this better? Because we want it to be the absolute best for people that we're onboarding. So every single team is going to have a culture series that shares the who, why, and how we exist and how we operate. A better way of thinking it is, it's how we are orienting people into our team, right? We're bringing them on to this team, and we're giving them our family values. And we're sharing with them, this is who we are as a family and how we're going to operate. So every team needs to have a follow-up also with new people, right? Because if people are brought to us and we start walking them through this process, but we don't have a clarity in how we follow up with them. So here's one of the verses in Proverbs: without vision, people perish. Or without vision, people run astray. And when we're not following up with people and giving them vision, they're probably not going to stay with us. And that's on us. That's on like us as a team to do this. So we're gonna work on all. These are all things that we're just reframing this next year. So we're going to be crystal clear in how we onboard people. We're also going to be consistent, right? So when we talk about consistency, here's what I want us to get. Consistency in the same direction takes us to our destination. Okay? Like if you consistently walk in the same direction, you're going to arrive at a destination. And we want to establish what that destination is for people, and then we want to consistently do this. But here's what we do. When we are reframing something, we also have to realize maybe what we're doing isn't working and we need to tweak some things. And we need to change some things. And we need to look at this a little bit differently. We also want to do this with capacity. So when I'm talking capacity, has everyone seen the illustration where you have like a jar and you put the large rocks in first, right? Okay, that's what I'm talking about. Okay. How do you get more items in something that already is established of how much it can hold?
Break it down into smaller pieces.
Break it down into smaller pieces. At some point, though, this can only hold so much, right? Okay. We need to, the only way to do this, guys, is to grow our capacity. That means if the jars that we're trying to fit something into are too small, we need to get bigger ones. Okay? So we need high capacity leaders to have a high capacity team. Okay? High capacity teams don't happen by accident. They happen because we have high capacity leaders. Our desire is to grow in order to reach more people. And as we reach more people, we grow. Because we believe that Jesus has the absolute best for people's life. And we believe that they'll find healing and wholeness and everything that it means of how they've been created as human in the person of Jesus. And so we want to see people go from death to life in Jesus and become fully trained disciples in Jesus. And as we do that, we will grow. And as that continues to happen, we need to grow our thought process with this as well. So our onboarding process is an influx constant, as in we might have really clear strategies with this, but what we do right now this year, if we grow, might not work next year. Okay? So we need to be thinking long term. Not how do we get 5 more people on our team and what does that look like? But how do we get 500 people? What does it look like to onboard 500 people, not 5 people? Okay? That's how high capacity people think. And we need to think that way. So we're going to reframe how we onboard new people. Number 2, we're going to reframe how we train and develop current people. So we want to train and develop every single person that comes onto our team. But currently, you're here and you're on our team, and there's other people that are not here that are also on our team. We want to help train and develop every single person. So training versus development. These are 2 different things, by the way, guys. Training is a short-term goal. Development is a long-term, more open-ended process. Training focuses on the role, as in training gives you the skills that you need. Development focuses on the person, as in the character, what's going on within that person. Training revolves around the present need, okay? So we can train people around our present need, but development is leading towards the future. Training enhances one's knowledge of their role. Development teaches them to think and lead beyond their role. So we want to be clear, consistent, and also be people that grow our capacity in how we train and develop people. Here's my thought with this. Training without development is helping people accomplish a task. Okay? Training without development, all it does is help people accomplish a task. Development without training is helping people to think about how to accomplish that task. Okay? So we have to give people the skill sets, but we also have to develop them to think beyond just the skill sets that they've been given. We need both. Okay? I don't think this is a let's develop people and not train people. Here's how this works. I'll use worship as an example. If someone comes to me and they're an average singer, as in they're not great, Like, you can tolerate hearing them sing, but it's not the best thing in the world. And we just keep teaching them what it means to be a worship leader and developing them that way and teaching, here's what a leader looks like. Here's the things that you need to say. Here's the heart that you need to have. Here's how you think like a worship leader. And we don't give them the skill set to improve their voice. No one cares how well they're developed because they're just like, I don't know why they keep putting that person up there. Right? The same is true in training people, though. Like, we can train people to be the best singers possible. But if we don't develop them as worshipers first and foremost, all they're doing is getting up and performing a song. And we don't want performers. We want worshipers that help lead other people in worship. So this is a both and thing. We need to train people. We need to develop people. And we need clarity on this. So we need clarity in how we teach people, what we teach people, and the end goal. Okay? So in everything that we do. So we need this to be clear. We need it to be consistent in how we're training and developing people. Every person on our team needs training and development. Great teams don't just happen. They're created by hard work and consistency. Okay? Like, great teams. Can I pick on you for a second, Joe?
Sure.
All right. So, Joe, where are you at with your, because you posted it, your weight loss?
75.
75, 76, yeah, somewhere there. So for the past year, like, Joe hasn't posted about this. He posted one time, but for a whole year, he didn't post about this. But I know, because I'm friends with Joe, and he would text about it and we'd talk about it, that roughly a year ago, a little before a year ago, he started working out. And I think Josiah started with you, right? Because you guys have both been at it for a year. And Josiah started doing it with him, okay? How Joe is now didn't just happen. He didn't just wake up one day and suddenly have 75 pounds gone, okay? It was consistency and it was hard work. So when we're talking about this, there's a lot of examples that we could use, but great teams don't just happen. Okay? A great parking team isn't just going to magically happen. Andrew one day isn't just going to like wake up and suddenly have 12 other people out there that know how to direct people in parking. Okay? He wants 12 other people out there, but he wants them to know how to help people park in an appropriate spot. Right? So this will take hard work and it will take consistency. We also want a team with a high capacity in this, right? So we want to grow in this. And we want to have the capacity within our team to train and develop other people. That means we need to train and develop leaders to do this. So here's kind of how we're reframing this next year. Team nights. We combined that this past spring. We're going to keep having them. We're going to have 4 team nights this upcoming year. 2 of them are going to be vision casting nights, and 2 of them are going to be training and development nights. And that's how we're going to start doing these things, because we believe in getting all of our teams together, gathering all of us together. We believe in pouring into people. We believe in sharing a meal together. We believe in you guys being served in this way and not just pouring yourself out again and again and again. But we don't just want to gather around to talk and it be another service. We want to make it something more. We're going to, as a band or as worship and production team, am I allowed to say we're going back to midweeks? Can I say that? Am I okay with that? I'm looking at Mike.
I thought you were just saying.
Because this has been asked. We were doing this pre-COVID. We were doing midweeks on Tuesday nights. We're going to bring it back, and we're moving it to Thursday nights. They're going to look a little bit different because we're going to break them up on campuses. So we're going to have Thomas Crossroads here. We're going to have 16 at the 16 campus. We're going to get together on Thursday nights. We're going to share a meal together just like we were doing before, because we believe in being family. So we're going to share a family meal together, and then we're going to rehearse together. And then one of those Thursday nights, we're going to have master classes, right? And so we're going to invest in our team in that way. We're going to, out of this whole culture series that we're rolling out, our next step with it is to start building future training specifically within the team. Because what you're going to notice if you watch these is they're really, really general in how I say things. They're not specific. So I don't specifically talk about how we want our pro operators to operate and run things, right? I don't specifically talk about how we want our band to posture themselves on stage and how we want them to step in, with what heart we want them to step in and what skill sets they need. So we're going to start building these out, and we're going to have a library of training tools because we don't have the capacity to meet with everyone one-on-one. So if we're going to grow in a higher capacity, we need to use the tools and resources that have been given to us. And one of those things is people watching videos on their own time and taking notes on their own time and personally growing in their leadership that way. So every single team. So First Impressions, our first job with that is just to get a culture series going with First Impressions. Our next job is to figure out what's the best tools that we need to help train First Impressions in this way. If it's not a video, that's fine. It doesn't have to be. But whatever we need that future training. Another thing that we do, and we've done this, we have team huddles, okay? I don't think people think about this as a training and development tool, but it is a training and development tool. So I know First Impressions huddles up. I know band and vocal production, we huddle up at 16. We do it on Saturday nights before we do our final run through. And here's why we do that. It gathers us around the why we exist as a team. Okay? We want to keep something in front of us that weekend. Do not neglect the huddle time. It is one of the most imperative times. So there's a book that I read, and it was called, how's it put it? Winning Starts, I think it was Winning Starts in the Locker Room. What a weird book for me to read, right? Like, if you know me, I don't really like sports very well. But his whole premise was that you don't win on the football field, you win in the locker room. And he kind of had this whole idea of how you treat that locker room determines how you play on the field. And how we treat our huddle times determines how we lead our people. And that is a training and development tool that we just have built into us. So every single week, don't neglect it. Encourage other people to be a part of it. So we are going to reframe our team and how we onboard people. We're going to reframe our team and how we train and develop people. And then number 3, and lastly, we're going to reframe how we equip, empower, and release leaders. So we're going to reframe this as a team. As a team, here's what we know. Because I know Mike has shared this before. Did you come up with it? I know Ken shared it before. Ken shared it at our last leadership. When you hold a piece of cardboard and you start pouring sand on it, right? Like at some point, the sand only goes so high, right? So what do you need? You need a bigger base, and that's what we keep talking about. We need a bigger base if our team is going to grow. So we need to reframe how we equip, empower, and release leaders. Because as our team grows, our leaders need to grow. But in order to grow our teams, we need to first grow our leaders, right? And we want quality leaders. And by quality, we mean people that lead like Jesus led. That's what we mean. We mean people that have the DNA and the heart of our team, that have the DNA, the heart of our church. We don't just want anyone leading. We want people that lead first and foremost from a posture of who their identity is in Jesus and a place of saying, I just want to serve other people. Okay? And then as they do that, there is, go with me here, there's a submission to leaders over us. Because we do not want people that come in and they don't have our DNA. It creates confusion and chaos. So if we onboard people with clarity, with consistency, leading them in a greater capacity, and then if we train and develop people with those same things, our outcome should be leaders that lead like Jesus led. So, equipping, empowering, and releasing. Equipping says, here are the tools, and this is how you use them. That goes back to our training and developing piece. Here are the tools, and this is how you use them. There are some tools that I know how to use somewhat well. There are other tools I know how to use less well. Okay. I do have a toolbox. I was asked once if I had a toolbox. I had a toolbox, and I said, it's not very full of tools. Phil saw my toolbox and he said, "Oh, that's more full of tools than I expected." I'm like, "Oh, cool, good, I'm winning." Every tool that's in that toolbox, guys, I know how to use.
Good job.
Okay? There are some tools, though, that I don't know how to use. As in, if someone backs a backhoe into my yard, I don't know how to use it. Okay? But if you give me a shovel, I know how to dig with it. Both have a purpose, and it's digging something. One I know how to use, and the other I don't know how to use. When we're equipping people, we need to give them the tools and teach them how to use them. And we want to give them the absolute best tools to accomplish the task that God's given us to use, like to do. So, equipping. Empowering says, I give you authority to accomplish this. Okay? To equip people and not to empower people is to hold people back. All right? To equip, think of it this way. If you raise a child and you do not send a child out, if you equip a child to be a fully grown adult and you never send them out of your house, you never empower them, you never give them authority to do something. Let's make it real practical. How many people have taught their kids how to drive cars? I know you guys are currently teaching Grace, right?
We're teaching.
You're teaching Grace, right?
It's
It's a process. They're in the process of equipping. All right. Okay. So, they are equipping Grace on how to drive a car. All right. Show of hands again. How many people have taught people their kids to drive? All right. Out of all of your hands that are raised, how many of you still have your child only driving with you? Okay. You all empowered them to drive the car. All right? You equipped them and then you empowered them. You said, I give you authority to drive this car. Or the state gives you authority. Maybe you didn't, maybe Georgia did, but they got authority. Right? We need to empower people. And then we need to release people. Releasing people says, you have what you need, the skill sets and the authority to do what you are called to do. Okay? So sometimes as leaders, we're really good at equipping people and we're fairly good at empowering people, but we're not great at releasing people because releasing people is scary. Releasing people means I'm actually signing this over to you. We want every leader in this room and on our team to be equipped, empowered, and released to accomplish what God has called us as a team and what they are gifted to do. Okay? Let me be very clear. We are not releasing people to go rogue and do their own things. All right? This is really like scary as a worship leader sometimes. When you equip people and then you empower them saying, hey, you have the authority to lead this moment, and then you release them, if they're just like, we can take this past weekend as an example. Brooke was leading with me at 16, and we're third song in is No One But You. If Brooke's just like, I don't think I'm going to do this song. We did not release Brooke to change what we were doing. We released Brooke saying, we've given you the skill set and we've empowered you, not do what you're called to do. Okay? I just want to be like clear on that. Of we're not asking people to rewrite what we're doing. We're releasing people to do what God has called us to do and gifted them to do. Not, there's a difference. Not what God, maybe what you personally feel like God's called you to do. Anyway, so this is the one that, as leaders, we're going to focus on the most this next year. We want every team to have a team lead position and to have clarity with it. So we want every leader within our team leads and within every leader here to know who you are, what your role is, and how you lead. Every team lead. We want every team lead to be 315. Okay? And 315 is that you understand what it means to be a leader within Crossroads Church. And you understand exactly how we approach taking people from going untrained to fully trained followers of Jesus. And you get that with clarity and you're able to teach it to other people. And so when someone says, I just don't really understand why we have these large gatherings all the time and why we use lights all the time and I hate the fog. And you're like, well, it's haze, but,
Yeah,
you know,
And
it's
then you're
not
like, sorry,
smoke.
Pastor Kim,
Not
but.
smoke. You know, like we have a why behind that. We understand that. Because when we've walked through this together, it's not left to be confused with. So that's partly why we want to do that. We want people to have this DNA. Each team lead will have a how-to manual. So I started this specifically with worship leaders. I know Dustin's working on one. With production lead, I think Kathy is working on one. And by working on it, we're in the beginning phases of this. But it literally will be a booklet that we hand to you that walks you through what a month looks like in the life of a leader on that team and in that position. Because we want it to be crystal clear, okay? We don't want there to be any confusion. The worst thing is high capacity people with confusion. It leads them to frustration. And frustration leads you to angst and bitterness. And it starts this cycle of like, I just don't know, and then you start grumbling with other people. I don't think any of you are doing that. If you are, I apologize that I just said that maybe. But my point is, like, they're like, you need clarity in this, and I understand that because I need clarity in things as well, right? So every team lead will have a how-to manual. We want to be consistent with our leadership. So leadership within a ministry team may look different, okay? Leadership within a ministry team may look different. And by that, I mean your role and the tasks that you accomplish may look different. Your DNA, though, of who we are is the exact same.
Right.
There should not be a difference in how we are as leaders. And there should not be a difference in what we say as leaders. Now, we might frame it differently, but there is an understanding these people are speaking the same language. And then we want high capacity leaders. So I used to really struggle with this. I'm struggling with it less, guys. I used to really struggle with asking more of people because I really felt like I just didn't want people to burn out. You know, you see people burning out all the time. I just didn't want to be a leader that like caused burnout within other people. I'm reframing this though. We will always ask more of you and to lead towards more. But we will teach you how to say no and how to say yes. Because high capacity leaders know what to say no to and what to say yes to. Okay? They know their limits. I don't want us as a staff team to ever be a team that burns people out. However, I don't want us as a staff team to hinder what you are gifted and called to do because we say no for you.
Amen.
So I've stopped saying no for people. You have the power to say no, the same as I have the power to say no. And you have the power to say yes, the same as I have the power to say yes. And you know what? If you know what your yes is, it automatically tells you what your no is. Okay? So, we're going to ask more of you. But in asking more of you, we're going to teach you how to say no and how to say yes. That's a tough one for me to say though, because I really like don't want to see people burn out. I really don't. High capacity leaders know how to lead themselves and lead others. Okay? There are leaders that know how to lead themselves well and they struggle leading others, and it's hard to call them leaders. They're more just really gifted people. Okay? But high capacity leaders, they know how to lead themselves well and they know how to lead others well. High capacity leaders are people that are always learning. So if we want high capacity leaders, we want you to have the skill set to know how to learn, continue to grow, continue to learn. And high capacity leaders know how to grow others. So if we're going to be like this team that is reframing our room within the house to hold more people within that room, that means if our capacity is like right here, we need to grow it to here. And that means you need to grow your capacity along with it. Now, every single one of us has a different capacity. But here's what I know to be true. That God has gifted every single one of us for just a time as this. And He has given us the capacity that we need for just a time as this. To grow in a way where he's saying, hey, I want to bring more people. I want you to steward people to become all that I've called them to be. But I also need you to grow. And so as a team, we will reframe how we equip, empower, and release leaders. This takes a focus of us as staff leaders to start trying to work more one-on-one with some of you in leadership. This also takes for you as a leader to take on some more responsibility that we maybe haven't given, right? So, and we'll kind of roll this out this next year because it's going to take time to do, okay? So anything that begins to grow, if you grow something too fast, it breaks, okay? So we want to be strategic in how we do this, and we want to be strategic in how we grow this. So we will reframe this next year and how we onboard new people, and how we train and develop current people, and then in how we equip, empower, and release high-capacity leaders within our team. And that's going to be our focus. We're just going to go after it, every single ministry team, every single area, and we're going to do our absolute best to define these things, bring clarity, consistency, and then a capacity to it as well, right? So, what questions do people have? Carrie, I did that in 35 minutes.
46.
But you're not released yet.
I'm looking at the rest.
Whatever. All right. Questions? Comments?
Sounds fun to me. Sounds fun.
Thanks, Luke. Such enthusiasm.
Just definitely a new mindset for a lot of us to be in.
Yeah.
But I'm ready for it.
Good. So tomorrow morning, I shouldn't have said morning, tomorrow at some point, band, vocals, production, you'll get an email. And we would just ask you to start in the process. I'm not telling you what it is, solely because I need you to think through this from the lens of a new person, because we want it to be the absolute best for someone coming to our team, okay? And for you to think through it that way, to put in the work. I will say this, there is a test after every video, okay? Just letting all of you know. It's super.
I've cheated on my test.
But you can watch the video back as many times as you want. You can take notes as you go. All of the answers are written in it, right, Leighton?
Yeah.
Do we go back and do that?
I will.
Probably not by tomorrow, will you?
I'll get it done by 11 a.m.
Will you really? Really done with it?
That's
Okay. We just need it on the first.
Start
We
with
did first,
video
second,
one.
start with video
Just start
one.
with video one and we're good.
Yeah.
Jeez.
So you guys will get that tomorrow.
Teach Leighton how to say no.
And we'll just roll from there.
Say which day at 11.
And then as you work through this is work through it at your own pace. But we're not going to roll it out to the rest of the team until we have enough, yes, this is helpful, and nothing needs to change, or here are some things that need to change. And then we'll roll it out to the rest of our team, and they at that point, we're cutting off the feedback. You guys are our only feedback for this, okay? I'm just letting you know. What? Yeah. This is it. Because if we keep opening, if you get too many voices speaking into something, it causes way too many opinions and confusion around it. Okay. So I'm just sharing that with you. Once we roll this beyond you, it is what it is until we make a new one. I will say production. We shot this before Dustin asked to change the name, so I do say worship tech, but it does mean production. So that's why I told Dustin, well, we're not reshooting this for a little bit. I'm not
We're
sure.
gonna put an audio blurb, right?
We were going to put an audio blurb. There's a
would be like, it'll freeze, and then it would just.
there's a few different sensor moments and things going
Reaction.
on. But
No.
no.
And we'll video like portion of like Lindsay's mouth moving. So.
But we are really excited about this next year. I think there's some things that I'm just really excited about. One of those being midweeks coming back, moving it to Thursday nights and having that time together again. I'm just looking forward to it, and I've missed it, and I think it will give some space back into our team and help us build healthier relationships within our team. And then I'm just looking forward to helping develop some leaders within our team, develop even more and grow even more, and begin to lead in a way that we've yet to maybe empower and release people to lead. And I do think it's going to be great. And if you guys have any questions, you don't have to give them to me. Hopefully everyone knows what everyone does. Joe will kind of transition and assume some other responsibilities this coming fall by doing more of the scheduling of both vocals and band side of things. And we're just trying to rework some stuff to make it the absolute best. When I'm talking about being high capacity, what I began to realize this past year, I don't know where my limit is, but I also don't want to find out. Right? And so I want to really help other people be high capacity people. And as we do that, I really do believe that God will give us the people. He's looking for people who are faithful. He's looking for people who are available and faithful, where he can say, I have people that I want you to pour into and invest in. And that just takes all of us being a part of this. So there's no part that's greater than another part, okay? And we all have a part to play in this. So none of us are more important than another person, and one role is not more important than another person. And I think the best thing I've ever heard, it's not, it was talking about giving, but it applies to beyond that. It's not equal giving, it's equal sacrifice. Okay? So it's not equal leading, it's equal sacrifice in how we lead. We're all going to lead differently. But if we all have a heart posture of sacrifice in this, I really do believe it's equal sacrifice leadership in that way. That then God says, man, this is a team that's after me. This is a team that has my heart. This is a team that wants to see people come to know what it means to live alive in me. And I'm just going to keep bringing people their way. I'm going to keep bringing people their way. Not so we can do more, but so that we can see lives transformed. So let me pray for us, and we can, you're welcome to go and beat Patrick. So, God, I thank you for this team. I thank you for this opportunity that we can have tonight. Just to look at next ministry year, even though it's about 2 months out, month and a half out, that we could start getting our heads and our hearts around this and start praying for it. And I pray that we understand what it means. As we looked at that proverb of to build a house with wisdom and understanding, that we would build this room within our house called Crossroads with wisdom and understanding this coming year. That we would reframe it well, that we would look at the structure of things well and make them the absolute best that they could be. That we would seek you with that as well, that we know that you give all wisdom and that you give understanding, and that we can just come to you and say, hey God, how do we do this? We know that you created the world, so we know you have better ideas than we do. So just give me those ideas and help us flesh this out. I pray for the leaders that are sitting in this room, God, that they would continue to lead with their giftings and their strengths that you have given them, that they would steward it well, and God, that you would continue to grow their capacity for more, that you would show them how much you have given them and the strength that you've placed within them for more. And I pray for people that are going to come onto our team that we have yet to know, people that are going to come into our church that we have yet to know, that are going to put their faith and trust in you, and that we get to be a part of discipling them. And as they are discipled in you, And we watch that happen. And not just we see lives change, but we see lives change for generations. So thank you for what we get to do. Thank you just for saving us, for healing us, and for making us whole, and for the gift that it is to lead in your church and to serve people of your church. We love you, Jesus. Amen. Awesome. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.